girl Coco Mercury. Welcome back to my channel. And today have I got a story time for y'all. Now this happened a while back, a couple years back, but I know there's a girl there that needs to hear this story. So this is a tale you've heard many times before. Different faces, different places, different names, but as old as time. Or at least the internet. Online dating. So a disclaimer. I will say most of the people I have dated that have met online have been very normal, except two. One that will be in this story. In part, not to blame myself, but I did go against my algorithm. Yes, I had an algorithm. How I would choose who I went out with and how I chose that I was not going to go out with someone. And I have realized when I went against this algorithm, that was when things went south. So you're probably wondering, well, what's this algorithm, sis? Tell us. We want to know. Okay. So one, it was Snapchat. Like I said, this was years and years ago. All right, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. And Snapchat, once I started talking to someone and want to give out my number, I said, well, let me know your Snapchat name and I'll add you. Because even though you can have filters, the Snapchat filters are so obvious, at least to me, when you're using them. And so when you're in natural light, it's like a Snapchat filter, don't lie. Like I can see what you really look like. And the other one, of course, was Instagram. Like I want all your social media handles. At this time, I was actually working as an investigator, so I knew how to dig and I knew how to look. Clearly, I should dug a little deeper, which leads to the third part of the algorithm I broke. Typically, I'll talk to someone for like a week, like 2 weeks really. Get to know them, see, do I actually even want to go on a date with you? This time, it was probably like, I don't know, very short, brief amount of time, like a couple days, probably less than a couple days. And I was like, yeah, sure, like let's meet up and stuff like that. So I went against my algorithm and I did not do my full check that I typically do. Yes, yep, kicking myself in the butt right now. Also, this guy did not have social media. Which again, some guys don't have social media. I get it. But it definitely put a rut in my investigation. Let's get to the good stuff now. Let me get to the meat of the story. So like I said, at this time I was living in New Orleans in an area called the Lower Garden District. And I was living on Magazine Street. So why I say the name of the street was because Magazine Street, there's different little, stores, boutiques, restaurants, places to eat. So there's tons of places to go. It's just key point in this story. There's tons of places right within walking distance of my apartment to go to. So before we kind of come back to that, let me kind of explain, who was this guy? What did he look like? I honestly do not remember his name. We can call him, let's just call him Ryan. We're gonna call him Ryan. All right, so Ryan's profile, he looked real cute. He looked like he was like Asian mixed with something. His picture was like him in a helicopter. And it was something that I knew kind of in that moment was a little bit tricky because you knew that he was someone that knew to find his best angle. But I was like, okay, like he's cute. These pictures look cute and stuff like that. And then I'd also seen he was in the military. Yeah, so it's him in the helicopter and stuff like that. I was like, ooh, he kind of cute. Okay. Like, I'm open to it. He might be a really cool guy and stuff like that. I don't really date anyone in the military or gone on a date with anyone in the military at that point, I don't think. So I was open to it. I was like, maybe all my prejudgments are wrong. Okay. And no, the story does not prove my prejudgments correct, by the way. It did not prove them correct. But I was just open to seeing how things went. So he comes over, gets to my apartment. I met him outside. I lived in an apartment that had, several other people in the building. I step outside to meet him. As soon as he rolls up, pulls down the window, I'm looking in and I'm like, That was in my head. I was like, hi. Because just in that moment, I couldn't be like, okay, you are not you. Because it was him. Like, I could tell it was. He knew his angle, so can't fault the man. And I was also like, okay, let me just be open. Maybe I'll have a good time. This could actually go like well. And so I was like, okay, well, do you just kind of want to go out here? Like, we can just walk to somewhere down here on Magazine Street and get a bite to eat. And he was just like, oh, it's so crowded down here. There's just so many people. Like, let's just like kind of like get off of like Magazine and stuff. And in the moment, I was just kind of like, okay, because it was like that time of day where there was a lot of like, not even like traffic. I won't say traffic, but there was a lot of the regular commute of people kind of going through a popular area or something like that. And I was like, I mean, okay. Also, another disclaimer. At this point in my life, I was very like meek. I would say like passive, and I still kind of struggle with saying no a little bit, but I've gotten 20 million times better than I was at this point. 20 million times better. I was just kind of like, all right, like, okay. And looking back, do I realize this all sounds stupid? Yes. Do I realize this wasn't a good idea? Yes. Would I slap myself in the face back to the year I was born? Definitely. But in this moment, of course, I went, and I was really lucky that, you know, things were, look, that I needed to tell the story. Okay. So he picks me up, like I said, get in his car after deciding not to go to a place that I can easily walk to. So we're like driving around. We're still, you know, by the Lower Garden District and Lower Garden District. But at this point, I lived in New Orleans long enough to realize, all right, we were kind of getting like further and like further outside of my neighborhood. I'm like, okay, so where? After a while, after a couple minutes, because I thought, all right, he has somewhere in mind. Like, there's no way this guy's just driving around and has nowhere in mind. So we're just in the car, driving, and I'm like, all right, so where are we going? Because like I said, I was like, we're like outside of New Orleans kind of at this point, and New Orleans is really small. I would say it takes like 30 minutes to get from one side to the other. So, but still, I'm like, we're outside of it. Like, where are we going? And he's like, oh yeah, I was just like, you know, I was just like driving. I don't really know like where we're going and like and I'm like, well, like, let's look up some places. I pulled my phone, and since we're in the middle of nowhere, of course there's nowhere to go in the middle of nowhere. So, and being the knight in shining armor that anyway, so he pulls up to a Little C's. Good old Little Caesars. Now, I ain't got nothing against Little Caesars. Little Caesars is great. I think going to Little Caesars with your boo is great. If your man or your woman want to pick you up some Little C's, chef's kiss, enjoy. I'm just saying for like the first date, we got like the third, the fourth, whatever. If I decide that, you know, I want to keep going out with you, like we have other dates to go to Little Caesars. I feel like that's more like, you know, like we know each other and now we just like kicking it and we're cool. But like sorry, I'm feeling myself, so I'm gonna be flipping this. So I'm just like, all right, well, where are we gonna eat this? Because there's nowhere to eat in the Little Caesars, and I'm a pro at eating my carb, but that's not what I came for. That's not what I came for. So he's all like, oh, like we can just go back to the base. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like the base. As I said, I've never been to a military base. And something about made me feel uncomfortable. So going back to old Koko of 4 or 5 years ago, I did not know how to advocate and stand up for myself and express that I'm feeling uncomfortable. I was also thinking I am like 45-50 minutes away from my house. Now looking back, I would have been like, spend that money and get back and just cough up the mistake. Just cough up the mistake. Like, you made a mistake, you know, just swallow that pill and get yourself an Uber and go home. but I was also broke AF at that time. Not a reason. She still coughed it up, sis. Anyway, we're gonna keep going on because, as you guess, the story doesn't end. We get to the base, and I'm in the car, and I see like the guy at like, I guess, the check-in point or something like that, and I'm just like, do I like need ID? Do I like need something? Are they really just gonna let me get onto this base? He's all like, yeah, it's fine. And I'm starting to get even more uncomfortable because I'm seeing the guys like standing there with their guns and stuff, and it just like, guns really freak me out. So I'm just sitting there, I'm like, so we get in, and the guy basically is just like, yeah, go forth. Welcome to Narnia. Okay. So we get there, get out of the car. I'm looking around. This is trifling, and I'm just like, smoke show over there. Smoke show over there. I mean, the guys on the base, another chef's kiss. And I'm sitting here like, all right, like, I'm glad there's all these hot guys around, but this is the situation I'm in. Again, I realize everything I'm saying in this story sounds trifling as hell. All right, don't judge me. This is story time. This is story time. Oh, we end up eating the pizza in his like little like apartment thing. And so I felt so uncomfortable. He goes, he's like sitting on the corner of his bed, and I go and I like sit on like a single seat. Like no one else can possibly sit on the seat with you, and painfully sit through a whole entire movie. Yeah, a whole entire movie. And after this, he kind of starts sitting like closer. He just tries to get closer. Oh, you can come and sit over here. Oh, you. And I'm like, like I'm good. Like, you know, I'm good. I'm ready to go and stuff like that. And like I hadn't wanted to be like rude. So I went and I sat on like a different seat, and there was a bit more space. And he comes and he like sits next to me, and then proceeds to put his arm around me. And this whole time I'm like, yeah, like I was like frozen, like stiff like a board, very uncomfortable. And like no eye contact, I'm not reciprocating any touching. And like some of my friends, I told this story later, and they were like, that was not okay. And me, I kind of like blamed myself for even getting into that situation, period. Yeah, so that's how that happened. And he then tried to ask me out to their plane show and the plane show. And I was just like, and he drove me home, and I completely ghosted. I realized that I kind of sped through that ending, but that is legit what happened. You can probably tell, you're like, girl, like your whole mood just shifted, because it's like, even the more time passes as I tell this story, I feel I can't even imagine myself making those same choices. I don't even understand why I would feel like, oh, if I sit all the way over here, like that's kind of like rude. I guess I should sit a little closer, even though that makes me uncomfortable, to try to make someone else comfortable that I don't even know. Like I can't even understand how that was my rationality. So why I want to tell this is because, you know, ladies out there, fellas out there, it is okay to set your boundaries. It is okay if something doesn't feel right from the get-go for you to say no. It's all right to kind of turn things around at any moment, and it is in your power to turn things around at any moment. Not all the time, but fortunately I did have many opportunities to turn things around. Again, not trying to place blame on myself, but also taking accountability and responsibility, because as I tell the story, like I said, I look back and I'm like, did I really... Is that really how I did that? No. The point of the story is there are many great people to meet out in the world, as well as, you know, online. Like I said, I have nothing against online dating. I've met a lot of great people, all except, I say 98% of my experiences have been great. except for like two that was, and this was one of them. Everything else has been great, and that was more like a lapse of judgment. That's what I would say. I would say that was a lapse of judgment. So trust your intuition, trust your gut, and there's no shame in doing that. I feel like I should end on a lighter note because, like, I don't know if you could tell, but like something changed in my eyes, and I was just like, because I felt like shame. I felt like shame telling the story. But I am glad I got to share it with you guys, and hopefully there was something that you could take away from that spoke to you. We all have crazy, dumb stories from our early to mid 20s, and even some when we're reaching 30 or at 40 or 50. That's why they call them crises, you know? But I learned from that, and I made better choices after that, which is what matters. Do you see me validating myself? Please let me know what you guys think, your thoughts on my story. I'm scared to read them, to be honest. If you can maybe relate, or what has helped you to kind of set your boundaries moving forward in your life, how you feel like those have changed from when you've been younger to as you've matured and you've grown up and you've learned. And if you have made mistakes similar to this, just know it's all part of the journey. All right, nothing is a failure as long as you learn from it, you take something away from it in some type of way. And also in sharing these stories, the thing is, I need to tell myself what I tell you guys is that we can all learn from each other, and things aren't meant to be shameful, but experiences that we can be fortunate enough to learn from and share with others. So I'm glad I got to share that with you guys today. Again, let me know what your thoughts are down below. Please like and subscribe. And I hope that you guys continue to stay with me on this journey.